Greetings, valued viewers, and welcome to today's video. Before we begin, allow me to begin by extending my sincerest gratitude to each of you for dedicating your time to watching this content and for your steadfast support of my channel. Your ongoing engagement is a tremendous source of inspiration, and I am truly honored to have you as part of this community. Your continued engagement and encouragement truly inspire me, and I am deeply appreciative of your presence here. The entire history of the audio cassette. The roots of magnetic tape recording. The story of the audio cassette is part of a broader evolution in magnetic recording technology dating back to the late 18th century. Oberlin Smith was born on March 22, 1840, in Cincinnati, Ohio. He started a small machine shop in Bridgeton, New Jersey, where he lived most of his life, which became known as the Farragut Machine Company in 1877. For the entire existence of the company, he was the president and chief engineer. Magnetic recording was conceived of as early as 1877 by the American engineer Oberlin Smith and demonstrated in Smith's first diagram practice in 1898 by the Danish engineer Voldemar Pollson. Analog magnetic wire recording and its successor, magnetic tape recording, involve the use of a magnetizable medium that moves with a constant speed past a recording head. An electrical signal, analogous to the sound to be recorded, is fed to the recording head, inducing a pattern of magnetization similar to the signal. A playback head can then pick up the changes in the magnetic field from the tape and convert them into an electrical signal. On September 8, 1888, Smith published a short note entitled, "Some Possible Forms of the Phonograph," in the British journal Electrical World, where he suggested using cotton or silk thread, into which steel dust or short clippings of fine wire could be suspended. These particles were to be magnetized by the alternating current from a microphone source. Smith also discussed the possibility of using a hard metal wire or chain, but preferred the thread. Smith built a machine to spin steel dust into thread, but could not harden the dust because of oxidation. As implementing his ideas would require thousands of hours of work, he published his theories, but no one attempted to implement them. Many of Smith's ideas were independently reproduced by Voldemar Pollson when he developed the first true magnetic recorder. Voldemar Pollson was born in November 1869 in Copenhagen, the son of a judge at the Danish High Court. At the urging of his father, the young man began studying medicine. However, he soon left university to join the technical department of the Copenhagen Telephone Company in 1893. A Danish engineer who made significant contributions to early radio technology. He developed a magnetic wire recorder called the Telegraph One in 1899 and the first continuous wave radio transmitter, the Pollson arc transmitter, in 1903, which was used in some of the first broadcasting stations until the early 1920s. Pollson obtained a Telegraph One patent in 1898, and with his assistant, Peter O. Peterson, later developed other magnetic recorders that recorded on steel wire, tape, or discs. None of these devices had electronic amplification, but the recorded signal was easily strong enough to be heard through a headset or even transmitted on telephone wires. At the 1900 World's Fair in Paris, Pollson had the chance to record the voice of Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria, which is believed to be the oldest surviving magnetic audio recording today. Pollson developed an arc converter in 1908, referred to as the Pollson arc transmitter, which was widely used in radio before the advent of vacuum tube technology. The system was able to communicate between Lyngby and Newcastle with a 100-foot mast. The magnetic recording was demonstrated in principle as early as 1898 by Voldemar Pollson in his Telegraph One. Magnetic tape recording, as we know it today, was developed in Germany during the 1930s. Fritz was born as the son of Robert and Minna, née Hunig. His father, Robert, was born in Graz, and his mother, Minna, was born in Freiburg. In 1927, after experimenting with various materials, Flumer used very thin paper that he coated with iron oxide powder using lacquer as glue. He received a patent in 1928. Based on Fritz Flumer's 1928 invention of paper tape with oxide powder lacquered to it. On December 1, 1932, Flumer granted AEG the right to use his invention when building the world's first practical tape recorder, called Magnetofon K1. It was first demonstrated at the IFA in 1935 at the Berlin Radio Show. EG created the world's first practical tape recorder, the K1, first demonstrated in Germany in 1935. Magnetofon was the brand name or model of the pioneering reel-to-reel tape recorder developed by engineers at the German electronics company EG in the 1930s. One of the first concerts to be recorded on a magnetophone was Mozart's 39th Symphony, played by the London Philharmonic Orchestra under the direction of Sir Thomas Beecham during their 1936 concert tour. The recording was made on an AEG K2 magnetophone running at 100 centimeters per second. The tape used was the early black iron oxide FE304 type. When Beecham's 1943 German magnetophone was played back, the musicians were greatly disappointed with the distortion and noise on the recording. This recording survived until the 1990s and has been transferred. The tape is now lost. Some other surviving tapes show a tendency toward overmodulation. Later in 1939, the FE304 oxide was replaced by the FE203 type, which yielded significantly better recording quality. As a result, the formula became a worldwide standard until the 1970s, when chromium dioxide tapes emerged. In 1941, Hans Joachim von Braunmühl and Dr. Walter Weber, both engineers at the German National Broadcasting Organization RRG, Reichsrundfunkgesellschaft, accidentally discovered the technique of AC tape bias, in which the addition of an inaudible high-frequency tone resulted in a striking improvement in sound quality. The magnetophone became a high-fidelity recording system that outperformed the gramophone recording. German musician, composer Eduard Kunicke made a magnetic recording on the German magnetophone in 1940. Koenig was born in Emmerich, Lower Rhine. After obtaining his school diploma, he moved in 1903 to Berlin, where he studied musicology and the history of literature. He translated Beowulf into German. He was a German composer notable for his operettas, operas, theater music, and some orchestral works. Post-war innovation and American influence. The arrival of tape in the United States. Marvin Camass was an influential American inventor and electrical engineer, born on January 1, 1916, in Chicago, Illinois. He exhibited a passion for technology from a young age, creating devices such as a flashlight and a telephone to communicate with family. An electrical engineer and inventor who was widely influential in the field of magnetic recording. Camass built his first recording device, a wire recorder. Shortly afterwards, he discovered that using magnetic tape made the process of splicing and storing recordings easier. John Thomas Mullen, October 5, 1913, was an American pioneer in the field of magnetic tape sound recording and made significant contributions to many other related fields. From his days at Santa Clara University to his death, he displayed a deep appreciation for classical music and an aptitude for electronics and engineering. Alexander Matthew Poniatov was born in the Kazan district of Russia, east of Moscow, on March 25, 1892. Ampex was named after the company's owner, Poniatov, using his initials plus EX for excellence. During World War II, Ampex was building radar motors and generators for Dalmo to supply the U.S. Navy. Given the lessening demand for the motors, Harold Lindsay and Alexander M. Poniatov, with Ampex 200A Ampex, were looking for another product to produce. Lindsay connected Alexander M. Poniatov with Jack Mullen, and Poniatov agreed that magnetic tape recorders were the way to go. He asked Lindsay to join Ampex and work with Myron Stolaroff to develop an Ampex tape recorder. At Jack Mullen's suggestion, they began by developing a playback head. It proved to be superior to the one Mullen had on the original magnetophones. Mullen had by this time agreed to record and edit for Bing Crosby and Bing Crosby Enterprises. A few days after the demonstration, folks from Crosby Enterprises approached Ampex with a request to distribute the recorder in 11 Western states. An agreement was reached, contracts signed, and immediately, Crosby's reps gave Ampex an order for 20 Ampex 200As. They were all for ABC in New York, Chicago, and Hollywood. Richard Howland Ranger was born on June 13, 1889, in Indianapolis. He was an American electrical engineer, music engineer, and inventor. In 1932, he invented the NBC chime machine, RT, an automatic device to reproduce the familiar hand-struck NBC chimes used by the national NBC chimes built by Richard Ranger Broadcasting Company, NBC, radio network. By connecting his electrically operated chimes with outdoor loudspeakers, he was later able to create the effect of church bells. He also did other work relating to electronic organs. During World War II, he returned to the U.S. Army Signal Corps as a colonel and was put in charge of radar and communications at the Radio and Radar Test Labs in Orlando, Florida. He later went to Europe as part of the Field Information Agency, technical, and investigative team. After the war, Ranger's work led to further development of magnetic tape recorders. He developed a product, Ranger Tone Sync, for ampexising the German technology, and demonstrated it to potential users, including the members of the Institute of Radio Engineers. Who invented the audio cassette? The audio cassette was invented in the early 1960s. It was developed by the Dutch electronics company Philips, with key contributions from Lou Ottens and his team. The first commercial use of the compact cassette tape was introduced in 1963. The audio cassette, officially known as the compact cassette, recording sound on magnetic tape, was not new in 1963. Philips, led by Lou Ottens, is credited with inventing the audio cassette. The compact cassette was developed as a more convenient and portable alternative to the existing reel-to-reel tape recorders, which were bulky and required cumbersome threading of the tape. Ottens' goal was to create a pocket recorder that was inexpensive, small, and had low battery consumption while still offering reasonable sound quality. Ottens reportedly used a wooden block that fit into his coat pocket as a mock-up to define the cassette's ideal size. The invention involved creating a portable magnetic tape recording and playback system in a compact form. They developed a small plastic cartridge containing magnetic tape that could be recorded on and played back using tape recorders. How do cassette recorders work? An audio cassette is essentially a miniaturized, enclosed version of reel-to-reel magnetic tape. The audio cassette works through magnetic recording. Magnetic tape, the core of the cassette, is a thin strip of polyester film coated with tiny, magnetizable particles, typically ferric oxide. This is where the audio information is stored. Spools. Inside the plastic cassette shell are two miniature spools. The tape is wound between these two spools. Shell/casing. The plastic enclosure protects the tape and spools and has various holes and cutouts that allow it to be inserted and guided within a cassette player. Guide rollers and pressure pad. These components ensure the tape moves smoothly and consistently across the playback/recording head. A felt pressure pad presses the tape firmly against the head for optimal contact. Recording. When you record on a cassette, the tape recorder's head magnetizes tiny particles on the tape in patterns representing sound waves. The audio signal from a microphone or other input is converted into an electrical signal. This electrical signal is then sent to a recording head, an electromagnet. As the magnetic tape passes over the recording head, the fluctuating magnetic field created by the head imprints varying magnetic patterns onto the iron oxide particles on the tape. These magnetic patterns are a direct analog representation of the original sound waves. Playback. During playback, the process is reversed. The tape passes over a playback head, which detects the magnetic variations and converts them back into electrical signals. As the recorded magnetic tape passes over a playback head, also an electromagnet, the varying magnetic patterns on the tape induce a corresponding fluctuating electrical current in the head. This electrical signal is then amplified and sent to speakers or headphones, converting the electrical signals back into audible sound waves. A motor and a capstan inside the player move the tape steadily. One reel pulls the tape while the other releases it. The cultural impact of the cassette and the rise of cassette culture. Cassettes became incredibly popular due to their portability, ease of use, and the ability to record and create personal mixtapes, a significant cultural phenomenon, especially with the advent of the Sony Walkman in 1979. The cassette was popular for personal music, recording, and data storage for many decades before digital formats became dominant. The compact cassette, commonly known as a cassette tape, the cassette tape became the standard audio format from the late 1970s to the early 90s after the first portable cassette tape players were made available to the general public to record, share, and play music conveniently. The first portable cassette tape player to gain popularity was the Sony Walkman. This small, mobile, inexpensive handheld device allowed people to listen to cassette tapes and AM/FM radio with headphones. The Sony Walkman revolutionized how people listen to music because it allowed people to hear pre-recorded audio on the go. Another innovation in cassette culture was the boombox. Larger than the Sony Walkman but also portable, it often contained one or two decks that recorded and played cassette tapes. A prominent feature of the boombox was the oversized speakers, which rivaled the technology of the home stereo system in the 1980s. The boombox's portability, ability to record, and deliver strong bass made it an integral part of music. The 1970s and 1980s were the golden years of cassette culture, a time when cassette tapes became an integral part of everyday life. The introduction of portable cassette players, most notably the Sony Walkman in 1979, revolutionized the way people listened to music. For the first time, music could be taken on the go, allowing individuals to enjoy their favorite tunes wherever they went. In 1979, Sony released its first Walkman for $150. Measuring only slightly larger than a cassette tape, operating on AA batteries, and featuring a pair of portable, lightweight headphones, the Walkman was the first truly portable cassette player. Of the more than 400 million Walkman portable music players sold between 1979 and 2010, 200 million were cassette players. The 1990s marked the beginning of the end for cassette tapes, as new technologies like the compact disc, CD, emerged to take their place. The rise of compact discs, CDs, offered music lovers a new format with higher sound quality and greater durability. In 1968, Japan became the major producer of cassette recorders, with more than 2.4 million players sold by 85 different manufacturers. Audio cassette players became a standard dashboard feature in automobiles in the 1970s. Factory-installed audio cassette players in cars first emerged as optional accessories in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Philips introduced the first in-dash car radio with a built-in cassette player, the Type RN582, in 1968. However, the popularity of these early cassette players was overshadowed by the 8-track tape format, which was introduced by Ford and Motorola in 1965 and became the dominant in-car audio option through much of the 1970s. The quality of cassette tapes significantly improved in the late 1970s. The last car model to be factory-equipped with a cassette deck was the 2010 Lexus SC430. While the SC430 was discontinued after the 2010 model year, it was the last new car sold in the US with a standard cassette player. The Ford Crown Victoria also offered a cassette deck as an option until 2011, but the SC430 was the last to have it as a standard feature. Between 1979 and 2010, Sony sold over 400 million Walkman portable music players. Of that total, approximately 200 million were cassette players. This makes the Walkman a significant success story in music technology and portable audio. The introduction of portable CD players and digital music players further accelerated the decline of cassette tapes. These new devices offered greater convenience and better sound quality, making them the preferred choice for music enthusiasts. By the early 2000s, cassette tapes had become almost obsolete, replaced by CDs and digital music formats. In 2001, the market share for cassette tapes had fallen to less than 5%. CD sales surpassed cassettes in the early 90s, and by 2001, cassettes were practically obsolete as a mainstream music format. While blank cassette tapes continued to be produced and used for niche purposes like mixtapes and independent music releases, major music companies had largely stopped producing them by the end of 2002. Thank you for watching today's video. I sincerely appreciate your time and support. To help me create more engaging content like this, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. Your encouragement means the world. Have a wonderful day.